Welcome back to Everything All the Time. I'm Pat O'Brien. Court McCowan is here. We're going to talk to Andrew Spanswick in a little bit here. We can reach him, run him down. Busy day for everybody. He's a mental health specialist, and he has worked for 25, 30 years in this field. And our opinion, and I speak for both of us, is that a lot of this is mental illness.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out what can be done. We're not getting enough money to the mental health folks. And so Andrew's going to call here in a second, and we'll figure out what's going on. We're still all reeling from the tragedy in Orlando, and we'll answer that. There's Andrew now. Andrew, is that you? Yeah. Okay, there we are. We're live now, and there's Andrew Spanswick. You're on with me, your old buddy Pat, and Court McCowan. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
We're good. I was just giving your introduction, saying that you've worked in the field of mental health for many, many years, and also runs the clean treatment centers. And where the hell you been, brother? Been overseas a lot, right?
You know, our good friend Zoli's father just passed away.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I think breaking news to you right now, but yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of rough. And then I was just in New Orleans and then New York, so I've been doing a lot of traveling.
Andrew gave me one of the greatest gifts ever from New Orleans, Louisiana political scene. I can't really talk about it now. But it's from the Long family. So, Andrew, as you look at this horrible situation in Orlando and across the country, my first thought came to you because you and I have spent years on the radio talking about one of the problems with these things is mental health. And are we addressing mental health enough? Are people not seeing something and saying something, or what?
Yeah, I think that people don't really know what mental health is. I think that the average American sort of perception of mental health is an incurable, untreatable disease of people that are evil, and they don't understand that there's been, massive deinstitutionalization, the closing of mental health hospitals since 1950. We now only have 10% of the beds that we used to have in 1950.
Wow.
And we have a huge number of people in prisons with mental health issues, at least 50%. The average psychiatrist for a person in prison is about 1 in over 250. And, so I think we're in a situation where it's easier just to say, hey, you know what, it's guns, or, in the case of Boston, it's bombs. I don't know how gun control is necessarily going to stop. I think that some regulation might help, but it's not really going to solve the problem. Our country is flooded with guns. You never find them all or get them all.
And I was going to ask Andrew, and one of the biggest problems too is these people that are buying these guns that do have mental issues. There's no screen.
Yeah, they're all buying them legally.
Yeah, there's no screening
in gun stores, but
and as far as going as treatment or even diagnosing some of these people, I mean, like for example, the shooter in Orlando. I mean, we're finding that there may have been, and I'm not going to say there were, but there may have been some serious mental health issues, probably untreated and undiagnosed. Would that be fair to say?
And look, anybody that goes into anywhere and shoots a bunch of people has serious mental health issues.
Right. Yeah.
And even there wasn't a clear political cause. He represented alliance to competing factions in the Middle East that are fighting against each other. So his understanding of what he was doing was primitive at best.
Right.
Look, this is a horrible tragedy. It's another horrible tragedy. We've had, I don't know if, Pat, you got to see my Facebook post of the number of shootings in Sandy Hook, but it's staggering.
I also saw the one about
almost 1,000.
Yeah, I also saw your post about mass shootings. That's not the largest mass shooting, since we slaughtered 60 million Native Americans.
The other thing. CNN gets on. It just drives me crazy that the disinformation and lack of thought and lack of understanding of history in our country is just it's so annoying. I mean, we've got a situation where we've got a country that's founded on genocide for the current political system. And then we call the biggest mass shooting in history a shooting in a nightclub. And once again, I'm not trying to take anything away from the tragedy that happened, but to discount, 60 million Native Americans that were slaughtered and mass shootings and spreading of diseases, smallpox through blankets and other trade, and and to say an alcohol being placed upon a population that didn't have the enzymes to handle them and knew that it was a way to conquer and kill. Human nature has been doing this for a long time. We as people and as Americans are a country founded on violence and conquering and capitalist expansionism and growth, and we don't really care about people as a group. We're based on the society of the rugged individual.
Andrew Spanswick is our guest. Andrew Spanswick's our guest. He runs the Clean Treatment Centers and a specialist on addiction and recovery and mental health. I hate to say what's the answer, but do we need more government funding? We need more searching out these people?
It's one of these things that, once again, we're evolving so quickly in our understanding of the brain. Until recently, we've maybe understood 1% of the brain. We're maybe now at about 2% of the brain and how it works. And when you talk about the brain, it used to be back in the days they talk about the heart and that, people's body and soul was in their heart. And there was a huge movement against people actually doing heart transplants because they believed that you would remove the soul of that person. And then they found out, actually that doesn't happen. Now we believe that the soul from a religious ideology comes within the brain, but certainly the brain expresses who and what we are, and within our five senses and in the environment we are. And our views of that are so primitive, and we have such a lack of understanding that really what we're doing in the meantime, until science and other efforts can give us a better understanding of the brain, is we're doing treatment, not cures. And a big part of treatment is keeping people that are not mentally stable in stable environments. And insane asylums were created for that. Asylum, if you look up the word, actually means a place of safety. Unfortunately, insane asylums weren't also research institutions. So you begin to get this institutionalization of people where it seems hopeless and you're just like prisons. We don't research crime. We don't and if we do, we don't apply it to crime. We're more into punishment and not rehabilitation. And so what do? You get more crime and more people in jail. So, there needs to be a mind shift within, I think, all of social policy and social science, where we actually start looking at people, researching things that are important, but then also constantly update and improve the systems that we have in society to really treat and work with these people. And part of that, unfortunately, is long-term institutional care. And we only have 10% of the beds that we had, like I said, in 1950, and that's clearly not enough in a population that's expanded dramatically since that date.
Andrew, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to ask you something. Do you think there is a bit of a fear in this country to actually look at a problem like this and realize the enormity of it? Because the way you're explaining it, and especially with 10% of being able to treat people, and now we have 90% less beds, and we have probably 40% more people. And is this something that we're going to look at and go, this is almost too big to tackle?
I don't think so. I think we seem to have no problem privatizing prisons and warehousing people.
Right.
We're the number one country in the first world to do that. And I think that it's a matter of perspective. Do we as human beings feel ethically that the way to treat people that are sick is to lock them in an extremely small cell and throw away the key?
No, yeah.
Or do we feel that there's a possibility to have a better understanding and a moral and ethical understanding of what mental health is?
Right.
And science can tell us that people that are mentally ill, it's not their choice to become mentally ill.
Right.
Bipolar illness, which we think the shooter had, is episodic, which makes it hard to treat. And the legal system needs reform too, because it's episodic, and because we have drugs that can reduce the symptoms, people can be relatively stable for periods of time. The number one problem we have actually in the mental health community is medication compliance.
Right.
So you get people cycling in and out of the hospital in short-term lengths of stays where they get stabilized on medication. They send them out. Within a month or two, they're off their medications again. They run out. They don't have money for it. And then slowly they decompensate again. So we have to have a systematic change within this country of realizing that the care of the indigent and the mentally ill is paramount to the ability for us as a civilization to function. And until someone has the political will and understanding to educate the population and move forward in that direction, we're going to unfortunately see this happen again and again and again. And it really disturbs me when you watch the news and people talk about, well, how can the FBI start locking these people up before they do something?
Yeah, that's
and
ridiculous.
and it's, you know, it's the pre-crime scenario.
Yeah.
And you know, and then we see Trump get on the air and he's spouting fascist statements about you know, exclusion, segregation, separating people, and you know, this is basically what Hitler espoused, was that
Mussolini.
we'll get rid of all the undesirables. Mussolini, get rid of the undesirables.
Thank you. Someone finally called Trump what he is. Thank you.
And Obama took care of that today. Andrew, we got to go, but always insightful to talk to you.
Andrew,
I'll call
thank you.
Zoli today, and I'll call you
Yeah,
later.
great to be on the air.
Yeah,
miss you guys.
Thank
and,
you.
Miss you, Pat, and talk to you soon.
All right, love you,
Thank
man.
you.
There goes Andrew Spanswick, who put another patch in this quilt that's so difficult to understand.
It's just difficult. It's so hard to. It's like, I think if we actually were to, you know, take a look at how bad we treat mental illness in this country.
Well, we don't. We barely.
Well, I mean,
don't.
but that, okay. So the lack of treatment for mental illness, no matter what the diagnosis or undiagnosis is frightful.
When we come back, Howard Bragman will join us. He's runs one of the best PR firms in Hollywood, and he's well versed in gay and lesbian and LGBTQ community. We've had him on before. Howard Bragman is next on Everything All the Time.
Yeah.